Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. Is there anything more frustrating than having a narcissist beat you at every turn? The more you try to make them see sense and decency, the less they do. The more you try to hold them accountable, the more it's your fault. Boy, do we know that one. The more you try to stop them doing obscene things, the harder they do them. Why don't your efforts work? Truthfully, it's because you're playing the game the wrong way. And believe me, I initially had no idea either. Today, all of that changes because you're going to discover exactly what a narcissist wants, how to cut them off from it, create your life healthily, and finally win. And you may say, not possible, but I really want you to know, I promise you, it's not just possible, it's inevitable. And today I'm going to show you how. Okay, so before we get started, I want to remind you that if you haven't yet already, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, make sure that you hit the like button. All right, let's get going. Let's have a look at the narcissist and our respective games. The narcissist game is simple. It's all about drama, attention, significance, dumping emotional agony onto others and belting them up for it. There's nothing pleasant really about any of that. How did we get caught up in this game? The answer is we combined our game with their game. This is our game. Love, togetherness, peace, happiness, and joy. These things are nothing like the narcissist game. In fact, an interior landscape which is firmly about self and how to be superior at all costs means that these things don't even figure to a narcissist. These are not desired results of their life, and they certainly don't fit into their pathological ego construct. These things would only diminish a narcissist to make them usual and normal and incredibly vulnerable to the annihilation of the false self if it dissolved back into harmony and peace and could no longer remain separated and significant. So for starters, we're looking to have a game of friendly croquet in a deadly hell zone with machine guns, rocket launchers and missiles, all designed to hit hard and render you powerless enough to be fully controlled and hand over what the narcissist requires to feed their insatiable false self. There is no lush green lawns sipping Pims and enjoying club sandwiches here. Oh gosh, that sounds nice, but we don't get it there. And it doesn't matter how much you try to make the narcissist settle into a healthy relationship, play nicely, or care about you, it's just not possible. This doesn't supply what the narcissist wants and needs, the attention and drama to stop them sinking into being with and feeling their true self wounds, which is the trauma of being defective and not good enough as themselves to get their needs met. Hence why the narcissist has completely divorced their own self-assessed, pathetic, damaged true self. That's what they believe it is. And created a false self in its place. It also doesn't matter how shot up, bleeding and writhing in agony you are whilst trying. The narcissist is not going to come and pick you up, love you and stop hurting you. He or she would rather throw you under the next oncoming tank. You see, the narcissist has been projecting onto you those parts of self that the narcissist hates and unconsciously been trying to kill off your being in an attempt to annihilate their own projected self. You are the enemy. So therefore, if we really want love, togetherness, peace, happiness and joy, why are we in this war zone experiencing horrific brutality and treatment and knowing our life and everything in it that matters to us is being ripped to shreds? It truly doesn't make sense. Well, not logically anyway. Let's investigate deeper. Logically, we may believe we know there is better. We know that other people experience love, happiness, and being treated well by others. And why are we still connected to someone who is not these things? It may seem like we see glimpses of the lovely person. We think they have the capacity in some sense to do the right thing. They may have turned on the crocodile tears. They might have granted us many promises, and other people may have even given us hope about them. But I really want you to know this is not why you're hanging in there. The reason all of us have been or are stuck in the war zones with narcissists is because our inner subconscious programs are still a match for these games, for these war zones. We have believed our game is love, togetherness, peace, happiness, and joy, and absolutely we want these things, but could we really handle them if they arrived? According to quantum laws, so within, so without, this is all very difficult to obtain for us when our subconscious programs regarding love and relationships are painful, conflicted, and messy, resembling that of, well, quite frankly, a battlefield. So let me explain to you what I mean with my own story. Like many of us who've been narcissistically abused, love and relationships were often a minefield for me. I went through painful, addictive, adulterous relationships where I chose partners based on attraction who weren't healthy relationship material. And then after doing a lot of personal development, I grew up enough to be much more sensible in choosing love partners. But then I chose partners who had been bad in their past, yet professed to now be evolved, spiritual, and changed. And I believed them. After all, hadn't I been less than sterling in my lost years as well? Anyway, the drama came up, as did the pain, the highs and the lows, and of course, the two greatest narcissistic relationships came into my life when I professed, black and blue, that I wanted peace, love, and harmony in my relationships. However, when I started doing the inner work after being narcissistically abused, I discovered these things that have been keeping me in the narcissist hell game. I found normal, non-edgy people boring, just as I had grave trouble just being with myself in a state of peace, low ebb, and tranquility. In fact, my levels of still existing crisis consciousness had made me so obsessive compulsive and highly anxious that I literally believed that if I stopped or rested or wasn't doing something, that my whole world would cave in. How this previously manifested consciously in my life was always needing to be busy and industrious and not having time to nurture and be kind to myself. And I know many of you relate. The war zone of narcissistic abuse fulfills crisis consciousness perfectly. It grants us a job of being busy in damage control always. And it wasn't until I went deeply inside with NARP modules to find and release the trauma generating these anxious states of myself that I was able to just be. Phew, I was now more able to play croquet. Okay, then there was the matter of significance. One of the dire rules of engagement in the battlefield is significance, absolutely. And before healing my deep inner programs, I never felt good enough or truly loved and appreciated. I'd wanted to be recognized all my life just for being me, and felt so insignificant and hurt again with all the narcissist accusations and condemnations that I would fight for recognition. Narcissistic abuse supplied that battle grist abundantly for me. It fulfilled the self-fulfilling prophecy I was always immersed in, that I wasn't relevant or important or understood. Once healing that within me, all my old wounds that existed way before narcissistic abuse, I was able to unconditionally love and accept my own value and worth. But until doing that, I couldn't have played croquet. the compliments and the recognition there on that field were foreign to me. And it was something that there was no way before that I could have accepted if I hadn't have healed. And then there was the narcissist's anger and malicious missiles hitting their targets and blowing me apart. Little did I know until later that my old traumas being triggered into fully blown activation with these attacks granted me the permission to retaliate, to dump my devastation and rage somewhere. So much so, there were times when I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize who looked back at me. I seriously doubted my own sanity and humanity. And it wasn't until I was able to release the traumas of cruelty and abuse from my inner being and all my panic, desperation and anger that was generating from these wounds that I had zero desire to be in the war zone participating. After healing me on all these issues that I just described, as well as so many others, I realized that when we get better, we do better. I left the battlefield and croquet became very enticing. Let's have a look at playing the right game. The narcissist game is not our game. We don't win at love, happiness and joy in war zones. We can't, don't and won't beat the narcissists on battlefields. We beat narcissists and win at our life by exiting the game and walking onto our green lawn no matter what the narcissist does to try to pull us back into the mayhem. So how are we going to accept the lush healthiness of love, peace, harmony and happiness? By changing and healing our inner terrain to healthy programs, which is what happens automatically when we target, find and release the trauma that has been subconsciously, continually conscripting us to war. Is that what you want? To get free of this rubbish once and for all? If you are with me, right, I'm walking away to play croquet now, and write it below. Okay, so now that you've done that, I promise you this is not just a logical choice. It's got to be so much more than that. It's got to be an inner powerful shift, and I'm going to show you how to achieve it. So if this video woke you up and you know your true life awaits you, join me on this side where you will thrive by clicking the link at the top right of this video. And if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe so that you'll be notified as soon as each new one is released. And if you like this, click like. Also, please share with your communities so that you can help people awaken to these truths. And as always, I'm so looking forward to answering your comments and your questions below. So I'm going to go play some croquet. And until the next one, keep smiling and keep healing, keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.